Hello everyone, my name is Naguura and today I'll talk about everything you need to know about the first week of 10.2 and what you should be doing to maximize your character's player power within that week. Alright, so first of all, first week of the patch is a pre-season, so that means Season 3 has not started yet. So there's no Season 3 dungeons available that you can play, and the new raid is not available either yet. You can still do Season 2 Mythic Plus, and you can still gain score for both Mythic Plus Season 2 and for PvP. And of course, you can also still do the old raids. You can still earn some achievements and titles still. For example, you can get Cutting Edge, Ahead of the Curve, Keystone Master, Keystone Hero still. But you cannot get rank 1 titles anymore within this week. So even though you're gaining score for your Mythic Plus score and your PvP rating, it does not count anymore for the rank 1 title. Now, within this week, the vault does not necessarily matter as much, because even though you open the vault, the ID afterwards is dependent on the ID before. And since this first week, there is no Season 3 and no new raid, everything you do within this week gives you Season 2 items when you open the vault next week. So there's no reason to fill up your vault unless you need Season 2 items still, so you can just leave it and do other things instead. Now, one thing you should be doing though is do a high and plus key, at least one. Because the higher the keys you're doing, it will determine the level of the key that you're getting from your vault, the ID afterwards. And the reason why that is important is because having a really high key going into Season 3 start is just going to help you out, right? First of all, you don't have to play up your key all the way. Second of all, even if you're depleting a key, it still gives you a really high item level item from the vault, the ID afterwards, and therefore just having a high key, and even if you're taking an hour or two to complete the key at that key level, it's still worth it. Keep in mind that your key level is going to be lowered by 11 levels. So that means if you time a 21 key, then you will get a plus 10 key out of your vault next ID. And if you deplete your highest key, so if you deplete a 21 as your highest key, then your key level is going to be lowered by 12 key levels, which means you're going to get a plus 9 key from your vault. So if you somehow want to reach a really high key level, do as high of a level as you possibly can, because of course, minus 11 or minus 12 is a huge difference. So just try your best. Then the new crests are dropping the first week already. But you're not getting any worm crests or any aspect crests because the content for those crests is just not available yet because Season 3 has not started. So you can only get whelpling crests and drake crests from the open world content from Season 3, and you should be farming those and make sure you get your weekly cap. Then old flying is unlocked now in the new zone. That means you can use old flying mounts to go around. Make sure that you think about that and use it once in a while if you feel like it. And there's also new dragon flying talents and glyphs. I'll show you the map where you can find the glyphs if you want to pick them up to get those new talents to be able to quest a little bit quicker as well. There is a new event in the new zone that is called the Super Bloom. It is a weekly, and it's very similar to the Researchers Under Fire in Tsaralak Caverns. It's basically the same thing. It's a 3-stage event you can do with other people, and you get a big reward once every week once you do it with reputation for the new faction and so on. Then there's going to be new sparks for Season 3. When you do the campaign, you do get a quest that is called like a worthy ally, the exact same way as it was in Season 2 as well. It's just a reputation farm quest that you should be picking up as soon as possible. You do get it from the NPC called Keeper Amrim. As soon as you are close to this area, make sure you go there and pick it up so you're not wasting any reputation that you're farming. Make sure it immediately counts towards that quest. You get a full spark the first week, then you get a half spark the next week, another half spark the next week, and so on. So you will basically get 1 spark every other week, except the first week of the patch you get a full spark because it's the start of the patch. This means that when the raid comes out, you will have 1 spark only, 1.5, which means that you can only craft 1 item. Now, the crafted items in Season 3 are higher item level again. Of course, they're going to be bumped up, but they're 3 item levels lower than the equivalent was in Season 2 of the crafted items. So the highest item level you can craft is 486, which is 3 item levels lower than the maximum upgrade level with aspect crests. The maximum item level you can upgrade an item to on the myth track is 489, so 3 item levels higher than crafted, which makes crafted a little bit worse. But of course, you still want embellishments on your gear, and they're still going to be very good at the start of the patch once you don't have full max item gear. Then embellishments have been nerfed, and that is something that you have to look into your class discords for, to make sure you figure out what the best embellishments are for your spec and for your characters. Maybe you have to switch them around. Maybe the old ones that you had in Season 2 are not the best anymore. Maybe you want new embellishments they added in Season 3. So definitely check out your discords, your class discords, and see what you should be doing. Now, one thing as well that maybe is a little bit too late for you to know now is that it might be worth it for you to craft a Season 2 item with a certain embellishment, because as I said, you only have one spark within the first 2 weeks, which means you can only craft one new item with a spark, and maybe certain embellishments are really good for you, and then you need to use an old item. The problem is that the old sparks are not available anymore, the Season 2 sparks, so if you don't have them already on your character, then you can't craft a Season 2 item. And the old aspect crests from Season 2 are also gone now, which means that you cannot get an enchanted aspect crest to craft a high item level item. Now, the one thing you can do if you don't have preemptively made these things, you can recraft an old item. So if you have, let's say, a crafted belt on your bank, or a crafted ring, or a crafted legs, whatever it may be, then you can recraft those items and put a different embellishment on it, and then use that instead. So definitely go check out your bank if you need another embellished item, and see if you can recraft any of your Season 2 items if you need them. Keep in mind that the item level jump from Season 2 to Season 3 was a lot higher than it usually is. So it might be possible that not equipping a second embellishment might even be better if you have other items that are much higher item level for you. That's something that you have to figure out for your class and for your character. Alright, let's take a look at the upgrade system. So the upgrade system is coming back in Season 3. It is very similar to Season 2, but not the exact same. If you have not played Season 2 and you don't know how the upgrading system works at all, then I recommend watching this video that I uploaded, where I'm explaining everything in detail. After you watch that video, come back to this video where I'm explaining the changes in Season 3. Alright, so the changes in Season 3 is, first of all, that it's not items in your inventory anymore. So the currency for the upgrades is now called crests, and it's in your currency tab. So they basically removed the crests. You cannot turn them into anything anymore. So when you loot a crest in Season 3, it's the equivalent of fragments in Season 2. So for example, in Season 2, when you did a dungeon and you got 10 fragments, they are now called 10 crests in Season 3. And you cannot turn them into anything anymore. They're just the crests. The cap season, or the weekly cap, is 90 crests, which is the equivalent of 6 crests in Season 2. So 6 times 15 fragments in Season 2. Now the cap is lower now than it was before, which means there's going to be less upgrades, and upgrades still costs 15 crests, so the same as it did before, but you can only farm 90 crests, which is 4 whole crests less than we had before, so 4 upgrades less than Season 2. The seasonal cap is still the same, or it works the same as it did in Season 2, so you don't have to farm your whole weekly cap for each crest every week, because if you didn't farm one week, you can farm double the amount the next week, because it just adds up onto the seasonal cap. Now, one more thing that they changed in Season 3 is that you get the lower crests once you kept the higher ones from the higher content. So that means if I do a plus 20 key, I would get an aspect crest. But if I'm already capped on aspect crest, if I already have the 90 that you can farm within that for the second week, then you would just be getting worm crests from that same plus 20 key. So you don't purposely have to do lower keys anymore or lower content to get crests that you need. You can just continue to do the highest content you can do to get your crest caps. You can also upgrade crests now from Drake to Worm, for example, or from Worm to Aspect. The way that works is that you need to have every single slot of your character needs to be the maximum upgrade item level of the lower crest. So for example, Drake crests allow you to upgrade your items to maximum 463 item level. And if you have upgraded every single slot to 463, which is the maximum, as I said, then you can upgrade your Drake crests into Worm crests. And you trade them 90 to 15. So you have to use 90 Drake crests to turn them into 15 Worm crests. So 6 upgrades into 1. Keep in mind that once you're upgrading these crests, it also counts towards both caps, the lower tier crest cap and the higher tier crest cap, which means that this is useless for people that can farm all the crests. This is only supposed to be for players that cannot do heroic raids or mythic raids, and they don't have access to the higher tier crests. If you're a mythic raider and you have access to all the crests and you can farm all of them, then this is relevant to you because you're not gaining any crests, because it counts for both of the weekly caps, right? So if you turn, let's say, 90 worm crests into 15 aspect crests, then it counts towards the 90 worm crests from your weekly or your seasonal cap, and the 15 aspect that you're gaining also counts towards the seasonal cap. So it's pointless to do this unless you cannot farm the higher tier crest at all because you're incapable of doing that higher content. All right, then there's an extra upgrade level for both the hero track and the myth track, which doesn't really change much, but you can upgrade to a higher item level in comparison to what we did in Season 2, and it also means that you might need more crests to upgrade your items all the way. I do have a link below in the description for this graphic, and I know this is a lot to take in, but it's going to be a lot easier when you play the game, right? Whenever you do the highest content you can do and you get the highest item you can do, there's nothing you have to specifically go for. You can see which M+ dungeon you have to do to get a certain item track, and it also tells you which crests you're getting in certain M+ dungeons. It's also noting the vault item level 2 for each dungeon level. So take a breath, take a look. I linked the graphic in the description below. Save it, open up on a second monitor. Look over it as you're playing the game, but you don't have to like memorize any of this, so just keep that in mind. Alright, then there's a new faction, as I said, the Dream Warden, which has a new renown track. Now, if you reach 18 renown, the maximum, then you get an infinite account-wide augment rune. If you want to get the 18 renown within the second week, then you need to make sure you maximize everything you can during that first week, of course. Unless you don't care about the infinite augment rune, then ignore this part. Alright, now let's get to the actual list on what you should be doing the first week. Alright, so the first thing you should be doing is do the campaign quest to get to the new zone. If you have not completed the Coalition of Flames, which is a Season 2 campaign quest, then you just have to spend 5 to 10 minutes to finish that quest before you can move on. But don't be confused, just finish off that quest and then you can do the new campaign quest. Then make sure you check Keeper Amrim, which is the NPC that gives you the weekly quest for the Spark. As soon as you walk by that NPC, go and see if you can pick up that weekly quest to make sure you're not wasting any kind of reputation you're farming while doing the campaign. Then you should be farming the 90 Drake quest, which probably happens automatically as you're doing the campaign, as you're questing through this area. And you should also farm the 90 Whelpling quests, which also happens automatically, probably. And it's also likely that if you're a mythic raider that you don't even need the Whelpling quest at all. Then make sure to get as much renown as possible for the new faction Dream Warden, because if you want to get the 18 renown within the second week, then you need to make sure you maximize everything you can during that first week, of course. Unless you don't care about the infinite augment rune, then ignore this part. One more thing you should be doing within the first week is complete one high and plus dungeon, as I said earlier, to make sure you get the highest key possible from your vault the week afterwards. And that's actually it for the first week. There's not that much to do for player power except farming that 18 renown. That will take some time, and that's it. Afterwards you can focus on your alt characters, maybe get the sparks on those characters as well, maybe do a high key on your alt to get the high key from the vault next week as well, and so on. Now, once week 2 comes out, season 3 starts and everything is gonna be open. That means as soon as the second week happens, you should be doing all the things that you couldn't do in the first week. You should unlock your vault as much as you can by doing as high keys as possible. You should unlock your raiding vault as much as you can. Keep in mind the raiding vault was changed in season 2, so that means that you cannot target specific items anymore, because if I kill the 4th boss, for example, then it unlocks the loot table from all the bosses that were previous. So the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd boss will be part of the loot table as well from your vault. So that is something you can't do anymore. You can't target certain bosses or for certain items. But one thing you might want to keep in mind is that getting a worse mythic item might be a worse idea than getting a better heroic item, because the items can be upgraded from heroic to really high item level. So if you can choose to not participate on, like, let's say a heroic boss, because it would unlock a vault slot that would be a really good vault slot from normal mode otherwise, then just think about that, right? Because if you can clear every single boss on normal mode, but you can only do the first 3 bosses on heroic, for example, then the item you get in heroic for the first 3 bosses might be worse than an item you can get from normal mode if it could be possibly one of the last 3 bosses. Just something to think about. And outside of that, you can also farm aspect crests and worm crests in season 2, which you should be doing, of course, if you can, and make sure you upgrade your items accordingly. I can make an upgrade guide, or I'm thinking about making an upgrade guide to help players out on what they should be using their crests on, but that's for another video. And yeah, that's it for the what to do first week of the patch guide. I really hope this helped you out. I hope you got some information that is important to you, that helps you. And yeah, remember to follow my Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/Naguura, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel here if you thought this guide was helpful. Make sure you like the video as well. And yeah, I'm doing a lot more guides on this channel, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you very much for watching. Have a nice rest of your day, and goodbye.